Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I've just had the most surreal experience. I was on the phone to Mark and we were actually talking about Graham Potter being sacked by Chelsea. And I happened to have the Telegraph front page up on my internet because there was a big article about Graham Potter being sacked. And I looked at the next article to it and it was something like, investment banker finds second career in puzzles. I thought that sounds like me. And it was an article about me, and I'd forgotten I'd done an interview with the Telegraph a few weeks ago, and so it was completely surreal. It's totally thrown me. Anyway, if you want to read the article, it's very nice about Cracking the Cryptic. I'll try and remember to put a link on the screen. I did tweet about it earlier on as well, so you can have a look at that if you like. Just very strange. What a strange world. Now I've got loads and loads to talk to you about today. Let's start with FJam. Now FJam was the man behind the Agatha Christie puzzle, and then there were none, that I did on April Fool's Day. I think we've got as many comments on that video as we've had, per unit of time since the puzzle was released, as anything we've ever published. And FJam was kind enough to put together a solution guide for that, and we've published that today. That's available on Patreon, but it's not behind the paywall, so it's just free. Just go to our Patreon page, something like patreon.com/crackingthecryptic, and you will be able to find FJam's explanation as to how the puzzle was meant to work. Interesting stuff indeed, and thanks to FJam for making that. Now I also want to congratulate Dan Fayer on winning the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament for the umpteenth time. Very well done, Dan. Beating Tyler Hinman, who I know watches the channel sometimes, and also Paolo Pascal, a new solver who it was incredibly exciting. You can get the footage of this on the internet, but basically, and I'm a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to know what happened, forward wind the next 20 seconds of the video. But basically, the three of them are all solving on whiteboards in front of an audience, and Paolo was in the lead, and he got to the final cell in the puzzle, and it was clearly a guess for him. He wasn't sure whether it was going to be an M or a P to enter, and he sort of threw up his hands in despair theatrically, and the audience was laughing because they knew exactly why, and the conundrum he was faced with. And in that moment when he threw up his hands, before he put in what he thought the answer would be, Dan Fayer crept in and put the correct answer in, so to win by 1 second. It was sport of the highest caliber. Well, congratulations to Dan, who is an absolute phenom. But it was very good to watch, and maybe we should, I don't know if we can do this, but maybe we'll have a look at whether we can get hold of that final puzzle, because I can tell you, for Brits trying to do the most difficult type of US crosswords, they are not easy. Anyway, I'll tell you what I haven't talked about today, and that's what the puzzle we're going to be doing in the video. We're going to be having a go at this puzzle by AnalyticalNinja. Happy birthday, AnalyticalNinja. I know it's your birthday today. A little Rock Rat Zero let me in on that secret. And this puzzle, absolutely, whether it was your birthday or not, it deserves to be featured. It has a 100% approval rating and just a litany of amazing comments over on Logic Masters Germany. It's been recommended to us as well many times, and it is called Spiral SUDOKU. Sorry, that second word there almost made me trip over my tongue. Spiral SUDOKU, and I guess that's because, having a quick look at the rules, it is a hybrid puzzle of Sudoku, fillomino, and spiral galaxies. Now, they are three types of puzzles that I love, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to do this one, but we'll see about that in a moment or two. What else am I going to tell you about? I've done the ACPT, I've done FJam. I was going to read you a poem, but I don't think I've got time for that. I'm going to share with you something slightly frivolous, which amused me no end. Have I got that here? Yes, I have. Here we go. A friend of mine on Facebook, a guy called Simon Long, who's a phenomenal crossword solver as well, but of different types of crosswords to US solvers, or US crosswords, I should say, tweeted this bridge, or shared this bridge hand. And you can see, if you look at the names of the players, this appeared in the book Moonraker back in the day. Now, I used to play an awful lot of bridge as a young man, an awful lot, and I sort of gave up the game, but I still keep a loose eye on it. And this just it just cracked me up. And for some of you who don't know anything about bridge, it won't mean anything. But I think there will be some out there who haven't seen this hand before, for whom this will provide a moment's entertainment. So in the book Moonraker, I think the villain is called something like Hugo Drax. And in the book this happens, but in the film I think they play canasta or something, because they assume that, you know, film audiences won't know how to play bridge. Deeply patronising. But anyway, in the book what happens is there's a bridge hand, and Bond somehow gets hold of the deck, and Drax gets dealt that hand there on the right, which has an awful lot of points in it, and opens 6 no trumps. Only to find that James Bond bids 7 clubs. He bids 7 clubs, but he's got 8 diamonds in his hand. I mean, I just find this hilarious. This is just my sense of humour. I apologise. Anyway, the bidding goes round to Drax, who of course doubles. Bond redoubles, and then what does Mayer lead? I mean, it's just absolute. In defence, it's absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful hand. If you study it for a moment, you can see what happens whatever Mayer leads. Basically, I think he led a diamond in the book, but then Bond makes dummy, which is M, rough it, then take the club finesse, and then goes back to dummy with a diamond rough, and then club finesse, etc. And then after three hands, all of Bond's cards are basically winning. And the only way this changes, if there's a spade or a heart led, is that Bond roughs immediately and then just uses the diamonds in his hand to rough across to dummy, and then the whole thing repeats. I mean, I know it's stupid, but if you're a bridge player, it's just amusing. You're dealt ace, king, queen, jack, ace, king, queen, jack, ace, king, and king, jack, 9. I mean, it's so ludicrous to open 6 no trumps with that anyway, but I sort of get that. And then Bond pits 7 clubs. Anyway, sorry. This is boring. Well, it's not boring, but the joke. If you appreciated the joke, you would have appreciated it 1 minute ago. And we're always told on YouTube to keep things snappy. So let us move on. What else have I got to tell you about? Nightmares Sudoku Hunt. That is our April reward over on Patreon. Check it out. You will love it. Lots of people are solving it. And the Discord server, the Patreon channel, if you're stuck, go over there. There is a lot of activity. We've got our Gas 2 app out, Genuinely Approachable Sudoku. So if you want to learn how to do variant Sudoku, have a look at that. I need to say happy birthday to Ashley from your husband Matt. Apparently you two solve puzzles together, which I'm delighted to hear. And Ashley, I hope you have a brilliant birthday. Holly, it's your birthday today, and I know this because your husband Danny wrote to us. And also Serena, you've turned 25 today, and your partner Pop wrote to us, and I think you might be in Romania. And I'm fairly confident you are getting chocolate cake today, so that's great for you. And then Steve, you've turned 65 today, and I know this because your wife Wendy wrote to us. And well, I know you're from Perth in Australia, but I think you're in Bali at the moment, a place I have visited and very much enjoyed. Absolutely beautiful island in Indonesia, of course. I actually saved somebody's life in Bali. They were drowning in the surf, and I had to get them out. Anyway, Steve, I hope you have a brilliant day. That was a long time ago, when I was a student. Now, what else can I tell you about? I need to read out some names for correct solvers of the entirety of the Alice in Sudoku Land hunt last month. So very well done to Tobias Earlbacker, Kishan Vagadia, Pink Anemone, Max Baroy, Ashley Newman Jones, Sven Vilka, Alan Lee, Andrew and Matthew Walker, Charlie Morningstar, Rachel Warfield, Palaf Goyal, Scott Lane, Dave Mustang Lang, Lou Jagoch, I think, Jacko Dreyer, No Feet McGee, whose puzzle I did just the other day, Paul and Sir Marmalot. And I think Sir Marmalot might be a cat. I'm not sure exactly how much the cat contributed, Paul, but congratulations to you both. And also to, that looks, I can't read my own writing. That's appalling. I think it's Angus Alderman, I'm going to say. But it could be Argos Alderman. I think it must be Angus. Yeah, I'm going to go for Angus. Well done. Congratulations, one and all. Now, let's have a look at the rules of spiral fillomino. Long introduction today. I have been rambling, talking about bridge of all things. I'm sorry. But here are the rules of Analytical Ninja's birthday puzzle. So, normal Sudoku rules apply. Divide the grid into coloured regions, so we're going to be colouring today, so that no two orthogonally adjacent regions have the same size, brackets, in terms of number of cells they contain. So this is a fillomino constraint. So that means as we're dividing the grid, if we found that those cells were all in a region, then we couldn't add to that another region that was of size 6, because these would be two regions of size 6 that were connected orthogonally, and that's against the rules. So we have to make sure every region that touches another region has a different size to the regions it touches. Now, here's the spiral galaxies part. The regions must be rotationally symmetrical. So what does that mean? Well, if you're used to spiral galaxies, you will of course know. But basically it means that we couldn't have regions that had sort of that shape. But we could have regions, ignore the numbers for a moment, you could have regions that look like that, because this is rotationally symmetric. Now what does that mean, rotationally symmetric? It means there must be a point within the region which is its centre. Now here that's going to be the middle of this box, and if you rotate around that centre 180 degrees, the shape would map to itself. So it is rotationally symmetrical. Let's think of some other examples of rotationally symmetrical shapes. That shape is rotationally symmetrical. Any straight line is rotationally symmetrical. And let's do some examples of things that are not rotationally symmetrical. So let's try that shape. That is not rotationally symmetrical because you can't find a point in this shape when you rotate it 180 degrees that would map to itself. So it's just not. Same would be true if we extended that one cell, and obviously if we start making F pentominoes like this, it doesn't work. So we have to make sure that all of the regions we're going to build are rotationally symmetrical. Digits may not repeat in a region. Okay, right, so this is sort of killer Sudoku type constraint, isn't it? Digits may not repeat within a region, and regions with a small number clue sum to the number indicated. Right, so let's just think about how this 16 clue could look then. That could look, it could look like that, I think. Because clearly, I say clearly, hopefully it's clear, that if we rotate this shape around exactly that point where my cursor is pointing, it would map to itself. Look, there was a sound effect there as well. And we would have to make sure that those 4 digits summed to 16 and they couldn't repeat within the region. So that would be a way that 16 clue could work. Not all number clues are given, and these number clues don't have to be in the top leftmost cell of their region. Right, so normally in a killer Sudoku, these numbers would always be in the leftmost topmost cell of the region. Here we're expressly being told that's not the case. So that 29 clue could look something like that, I think. Because although this 29 is not in the top leftmost cell, it's that's fine under the rules of the puzzle. Now what was the other thing? Not all numbers are given. So if we did have a region like this, that's fine, because that could be in its own region. It doesn't have to have a number to be in a region, because not all numbers are given. It's a fascinating rule set. Sounds quite complicated, but, well, I don't think it's going to be too bad if you're used to these rules. I'm used to Fillomino, I'm used to spiral galaxies, so hopefully, for me at least, I should be able to give it a crack. Let me change my glasses over so I can see a bit better and do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, I'm trying not to sneeze. Where are we going to look to start this? Low numbers or high numbers? High numbers might be better in a strange way, because obviously I think that's the highest number in the grid. You know, this has to be a rotationally symmetrical shape, so it's got to be something like... No, it's got loads of options actually. Maybe, alright, let's try this one instead. So 3, what are we saying here? This is either a 1-cell region and this cell contains a 3, or it's a 2-cell region and it contains a 1 and a 2. And obviously any domino that we create would be rotationally symmetric. So, okay, so that doesn't do it. Oh, but if it was a 2-cell region, it would touch the 8 unless it goes up, so that's not going to matter. Okay, so probably we need to... I was thinking what we need to do is to find numbered clues which are sort of trapped by all of the number clues around them. That 31 looks like it might be quite trapped. Also, that 10 clue? The 4 clue is either a 1-cell or a 2-cell clue, but it's either a 4 or a 1-3 pair. But the 10 clue in the corner, it can't do that, can it? Because that's going to be, that's not rotationally symmetrical. So if it does take this cell, it's a 2-cell region, which would make this into a 1-cell region because it couldn't touch a 2-cell region. Oh, but that's fine. Look, like that could then just be part of a 20 that comes out this way. Oh, right, hang on. This is not easy. I'm not actually, having said that I understood the rules, I think I do understand the rules. I'm not quite spotting where the weak point is in the puzzle. Let's come back to this again. Let me think about that. So, 31. That's at least a 5-cell region, isn't it? Because for the 4 maximum digits we could put in this region would be 9, 8, 7 and 6, and they would only add up to 30. So this is at least a 5-cell region, and its centre of rotation cannot be in column 9 because it can't live exclusively in column 9. So the moment it takes cells that are in column 8, if its centre of rotation was in column 9, then it would rotate off the grid, and that's not going to work. So the centre of rotation for this region, whatever it looks like, is somewhere down here, I think. And that's because if anything up here was the place around which this cell, which must be part of this, had to rotate, obviously if that's the centre of rotation, we're mapping there. If that's the centre of rotation, we're mapping over here, but we can't go through other numbered clues in order to hit these cells. So can that be the centre of rotation? Oh, no, it's obvious. Right, no, it's obvious. That is the centre of rotation because of the secret. Now, the secret is something I only tell my favourite people. If you are still with me at this point, you're definitely one of my favourite people. Just don't tell anyone else what I'm about to tell you. And that is that all of the numbers in a Sudoku, the numbers 1 to 9, some up to 45. So, how big can this region be, this 31 region? And the answer is, it can't possibly be an 8-cell region. Because if it was an 8-cell region, the 9th digit would have to be a 14 to make sure all 9 digits sum to 45. If you add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 together, you get 45. So a 31 region is missing digits in it that sum to 14. So there's at least 2 digits that are not in this region. But we've just said the centre of rotation for this region is here. It's somewhere down here. Well, if it was further away than this point, let's say it was here, well, it can't be there. I mean, let's say it was there. That this is the centre of rotation. I mean, it just doesn't work anyway. You can't build a region, but the region is going to be too large, because this can only be a maximum of a 7-cell region. So that is the centre of rotation, and the region looks like that. Now that has got to be huge, hasn't it? So now we can probably do something more with the 3 down here. No? I've changed, right, we probably can, but I've changed my mind because I've seen something else. Right. This is a 7-cell region. But by SUDOKU, those 2 digits see the entirety of that 7-cell region. That cell sees all the digits. That cell sees all the digits. So these 2 digits, which must themselves be different from each other, must be the 8th and the 9th digit in SUDOKU. So those 2 digits sum to 14, which means they're either 59 or 68, because they're the digits that don't appear in the 31 region. Right, and now, for another little trick, those 2 digits, which I will label A, have to go in those 2 squares by SUDOKU in box 6, because these 2 digits can't repeat in their region and they can't repeat in their column, so they've only got 2 homes. So this, now maybe that tells me something about the 6 region then. No, actually no, that doesn't seem to work, does it? I don't know. No, I'm not sure. Right, let's come back down here then. So the 3 region now doesn't take that cell. So if it's 2 cells, it does touch the 8 region. And if it touches the 8 region, the 8 region couldn't be 2 cells. So it would have to be 1 cell, wouldn't it? Because what I'm thinking is, if this was sort of a 1-2 pair, this now cannot be a 3-cell region. In fact, it couldn't be. If that was a 1-2 pair, it couldn't be a 3-cell region anyway, because I can't make it rotationally symmetrical. Right, I see. So if this is a 2-cell region, it's a 2-cell region down here. That would allow this to be a 3-cell region and be rotationally symmetrical, but it couldn't be a 3-cell region because any 3-cell sum to 8 in SUDOKU needs a 1 in it. It's either 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4, and it could have neither. Well, it couldn't have 1 in it. So this is an 8. Right, so if that's an 8, not an H, an 8. This doesn't work again because this cell is problematical now. No, so it can't look. So what I'm thinking is, I'm just trying to work out how I can build a 3 region and this region without them being the same size or touching another. So the reason this doesn't work is that this cell is not part of any numbered region, so it sort of lives on its own. But in living on its own, it lives next to another neighbour who lives on its own as well. So these two are sort of lonely old maids together, and that's very sad. So what we need to do is to not do this. So we need to put the 1 and the 2 over here. and then that now is 8 on its own. But then no, okay, all right. Well, slowly but surely, I have proved that the 3 region is not a 1-2 pair actually, because the problem with this configuration is that cell now has no fill, because I can't connect it to anything. It cannot be a 1-cell region because it would be next to it. It cannot be a 2-cell region, it would be next to it. So it's at least a 3-cell region. But any region I build here that takes these squares, it's going to either run into the 4, or if we try and claim a centre of rotation anywhere in it, here, it's going to need cells off the grid to actually be rotationally symmetrical. So this, we get a digit. That's basically what we learned from this. That cell, which I shall make blue, has to be a single solitary 3. Now the 3 must appear in the 31 cage, so it is in one of those 2 cells. Okay. And the 8 region now. Right, well this, I see. This is very clever. Right, so this square now can't be a lone cell because it would be touching that lone cell. So it has to be at least a 2-cell sequence that attaches it to the 8. Now, no, I'm wrong. Well, I'm right about that. I was about to say this couldn't be a 3-cell sequence. No, in fact, no, I'm wrong. It is a 3-cell sequence, because if this just stays at being a 2-cell sequence again, that cell needs to be at least a 3-cell sequence and be rotationally symmetrical, and that doesn't work. So this has to be a 3-cell sequence. It therefore has to be 1, 2, 5, because it can't be 1, 3, 4. And this cell, which connects to a 1-cell region and a 3-cell region, is part of a 2-cell region, which must go and live in the corner. And I don't want to make it orange because that feels like the wrong colour. I will make it purple. That feels like the right colour. Therefore, this square, if it's a 2-cell region, it must join the 4, and this square would have to be a 1. Well, this would be part of a 1-3 pair, but this cell could be neither of those things. So that is a 1-cell region, and this square we don't know. This square is either, well, it's definitely a 1-3 or a 4, because it's either a 1-3 pair or it's just a 4. That square, that's a 1. Oh, no, of course. Sorry. Okay, you'll have to forgive me if I forget obvious implications, but yeah, okay, if that's a 1-cell region, that cannot be a 4 because it would itself be a 1-cell region. So this has got to be, this cell is part of a 2-cell region. Maybe I should have colours. Yes, I'm going to change that actually. That's a good idea. So I'm going to have a colour for a 1-cell region, which is going to be blue. I'm going to have a colour for a 2-cell region, which is going to be purple. So yellow will be my colour for 3-cell regions, and green will be my colour for 7-cell regions, if we find any more of those. So one of those 2 squares is a 1 or a 3 to complete this one. So this 10 region is touched by a 2-cell region. So this is not a 2-cell region. It can't be a 1-cell region because then it would have to just contain a 10. So it's either a 3-cell region or a 4-cell region. And if it's a 4-cell region, well, maybe it can be a 4-cell region, but obviously if it is a 4-cell region, it has to contain the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4, because they do. That's the only way of making 4 different digits in Sudoku sum to 10. And because this cell and wherever this gets out of this box, because this cell, is going to be taking an orthogonal cell as its next cell, So it's going to have 2 cells in this box that are not 1 and 3, so they would have to be 2 and 4. And then it could go on and make, so it could be sort of 2, 4 here, 1, 3 here, or 2, 4 here, 1, 3 here. But it could be a 3-cell region as well. Okay, so how do we do this then? We can nearly rule this 6 out from being a 2-cell region. Because for this to be a 2... No, hang on, we can rule it out, can't we? Yeah, I think I can. Okay, if this 6 was a 2-cell region summing to 6, how would that work? Well, it would either be 1, 5, but this cell can be neither 1 nor 5, so it's not 1, 5, or it would be 2, 4. But the only way it could be 2, 4 is vertically, because these squares can't be 2 or 4. And if it's a vertical 2, 4, it would need to have a 2 in it, and it couldn't. So that is a solitary 6. That is a lone cell, which we know is a blue cell. Now, that's also an A digit. So there is now one of these squares is a 6, which means there's a 6 up here by Sudoku. But look. This is now not able. We know those 2 squares added up to 14, and they're not now 6, 8. So that's a 5, 9 pair. Which means 9 is living very much or very close to the corner in box 9. 9 is in one of those squares, can't be in a 4 region for obvious reasons. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means... I don't know. I'm not sure I know what that means yet. Let me just think about this. I'm wondering if this is all getting cluttered enough up here to be resolvable. It could be. This 4, I mean, that digit is a 3 or a 4 now, because it's either part of a 1, 3 pair, or it's a 4 on its own. If it's part of a 1, 3 pair, mathematically, does that break? I think so. Here's what I'm thinking about this being part of a domino that sums to 4. That 10 clue has to grow somehow. I don't know how it grows at the moment, but it definitely grows and it hits the 4. So if this was a 2-cell sequence that summed to 4, the 10 clue now would have to be at least a 3-cell sequence, because it can't be a 1-cell sequence and it couldn't be a 2 if this is a 2-cell sequence. But that means, where does this get all its digits from? And it's got to, I think, pick up its entire total from box 3. And so does the 4 clue. And that means there would be at least 5 digits in this box that sum to 10 plus 4. 10 plus 4 is 14. It is not 15, which is the sum of the triangular number for 5. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So there is no way, if this is a 2-cell sequence, to make these 2 clues work together. So this is a 1-cell sequence and it's a 4 on its own. Which does diddly squat, I think. Probably. Let me mull this over now. What does that do? I'm not sure. I'm sort of tempted to ask what cell this joins to. What? Because this cell can't now be a one-cell sequence, because this is a one-cell sequence. So it's either joining to the 10 above it. Now, if it does join to the 10 above it, it must be part of a two-cell sequence, because the 10 can't be rotationally symmetrical. That's not rotationally symmetrical. That's not rotationally symmetrical. So if this is a domino, it's a domino that sums to 10. That's probably fine. I'm not sure, but I can't see immediately why that doesn't work. But if this doesn't join to the 10, this joins to the 12. We're running into we've got an awful lot of digits in this box. I'm just wondering if I can... If that 12 is a two-cell sequence, it couldn't contain the 6, which is in one of these three squares. So the 6 would be part of the 10-cell sequence, which would have to be 1, 3, 6 running across here, I think. So this would be a 5, 7 pair. This looks like it works, doesn't it? So you'd have 10, 12, and 4 here. 14, 26. These squares would add to 19. Yeah, okay. Well, hang on. What joins to the 9? Oh, I see the 9 can join to the 27s or the 35s in this world. The 7 can't be a one-cell 7, can it? So this is at least... Ooh. Does that 7 have to be a two-cell 7? I think so. Because if this is 3 cells... In fact, maybe this is a generality that I could have sort of noted immediately. The only way of a 3-cell sequence in this puzzle being rotationally symmetrical is if it's a straight line. So if this is a 3-cell sequence, it's either a straight line like that, which would have to contain 1, 2, and 4 and couldn't, or it's a straight line like that and would have to contain 1, 2, and 4 and couldn't. So that is a 2-cell sequence, which makes it purple. And it's not 3, 4 then, so it's either 2, 5 or 1, 6. And, oh, well, it could be 1, 6 just, if this is 1 and this is 6. And to be 2, 5, I don't think this can be vertical, is what I'm thinking. If this is in any way vertical, it would need to be 2, 5 or 1, 6, and neither is possible by Sudoku. So I think this goes there, believe it or not. And this is either a 5 or a 6, and this is a 1 or a 2. Ah, it's still, that's not quite good enough, is it? Alright, but that's still a little bit interesting. So the 20 clue now... well, no, it can't be 6 cells, but it could be a tetromino. Or it could be a 3-cell sequence. Okay, we don't know is the short answer for that one. Right. That is a 12 clue, isn't it? That's a 12 clue. One of these clues is a 9. Oh, I see, but that could be a 9 and a 1 as part of the 10 clue. And then that clue would have to join to the 12. Oh, hang on, I didn't see that actually. There's a possibility of the 12 being that shape, which I don't have a colour for. A 4-cell, let's make that red. What about that? That's rotationally symmetrical. And you can get 4-cell 12 cages. And you can get 4-cell 12 cages that can contain a 6. 6, 1, 2, 3. Although, actually, this one couldn't be that. It would have to be 6. Oh, no, it couldn't be. Oh, right. Okay, I can rule that shape out from the 12. Because this would either have to be 6, 1, 2, 3, which you can see with these being 1 and 2 and not able to be 6, that won't work. Or they're 1, 2, 4, 5, but that 4 rules itself out of all the positions. So in fact, that is not a 4-cell sequence. So whatever takes this clue... Okay, so whatever takes this clue is part of a 2-cell sequence. The only problem is we don't know whether it goes vertically or... Well, we know it goes vertically, but we don't know whether it goes up to the 10 or down to the 12. If it goes down to the 12, the 10 is a 3-cell sequence. If it goes up to the 10, the 12 couldn't be a 2 or a 1. So it would be a 3-cell sequence. And that's... Oh, hang on. Oh no. Golly, I was thinking then how do I deal with this? But I can deal with this with the 20. I was wondering whether this square might be stranded in that iteration. But no, it can just join the 20 and get out. It's quite complicated, isn't it? There's so many little possibilities. It'd be really easy to miss one, and then everyone will shout at me. Don't shout at me if I miss one. I'm not trying to miss one, I promise. Here's a point. Not only is 6 over there, but 5 is over there as well. Oh, well, the 5... Well, these are really interesting digits now. Because obviously if the 5 is in the 10 clue... the 10 clue can't be vertical because it would be double 5. And if the 6 is in the 12 clue, it can't be vertical because it would be double 6. So I think there's something going on there. That feels very suspicious to me. Bobbins, I don't quite know how to do this in a... Oh, hang on. You can't make the 10 6 4, can you? Oh, that's it. That's really beautiful. That's lovely logic. I think that's it. Okay, so how can the 10 be a vertical clue like this? That's my question. So in other words, how does this clue join to that cell? Let's try that and just convince ourselves it doesn't work. And the reason I think it doesn't work is this cannot extend this way because it won't be rotationally symmetrical. It must have a 5 or a 6 in it, and it's a domino. So it's either double 5 or it's a 6 4, and both of those break. So that doesn't work. This must join to this, I think. And then that's a purple domino because we've proved this can't be a tetromino. Let me just double check it can't do anything else funky. I don't see how that 12 can do anything else funky. So the 10 clue now can't be a 2-cell clue or a 1-cell clue. So that's a 3-cell clue, which is a yellow, isn't it? And the 12 clue can't have a 6 in it because it would be double 6. So the 6 goes in the corner, joining its friends the 1 and the 3 to make 10, which must be that order. That becomes a 2. I hope the maths is going to work on this. I've got a horrible feeling I'm about to disprove everything. No, this can still be 5 7, I believe. So this is 8 9 if all of that is correct. In fact, 9 is looking up here. So that's 8, that's 9. So now look, those two squares. Oh, look, 3 is forced to be here. But these two squares are 3 4 7 and 8. But that one has to be capable of going... Oh, this is lovely, look. This 8 is looking down at my A squares. So if that was 8, we'd be putting an 8 down here from our logic earlier, and there'd be 2 8s in this column. So that's 7. This is 8. There's a 6-7 pair here now by clevernesses that we did earlier. This is a 4. These two squares are something. They are 1, 2, 3. They are 8 and 9. 8 and 9 in the corner. No 3s yet. No 3s in the corner yet. And these squares are 1, 2, and 4. And that square is a 5 by maths now. Oh, the 5 bounces back in here and gives us those 2 digits. Beautiful. The 20 clue now must come out at least like that. What do I do when I'm building regions? I should have a build. I'll use grey for regions that I'm building, but I don't know how big they are yet. So the 6 region is done. Right, this 35 region. What's that doing? Well, there's trouble afoot here with the 9 there and the 9s here. They obviously have to be part of different regions. Yeah, okay, so how does this 35 region get built? Let's use grey again for this. Now, we have to make sure this is rotationally symmetrical. So where's its centre of rotation is my first question. It's got to be at least 5 cells large. And it clearly, that's not rotationally symmetrical. So it must take this square. Now, if that was its centre of rotation, how could that work? I don't think it can. It just can't, can it? Certainly we've got to be coming out here. There's no shape I can build there. Well, actually, no, I could build that shape. Oh, no, that works. There you go. No, it doesn't work. Oh, goodness me. Okay, that's tricky. I suddenly saw that the expentomino would work, and looks like it's got all the right digits in it. That would be a 6. But it doesn't work for a weird reason. If that was the region, that cell would be a single cell and touching another single cell. Woo. Okay, so where is the centre of rotation of this shape? Well, okay, if we can find the shape to those cells, we can't build it, so it's got to come out here. So this shape, I'm going to need 2 colours for things that are building, because I need to build this one as well. And obviously if I make that grey, it's going to not be very distinct from the grey shape beneath it. Right. I don't know what to do with this. I'm bailing on it. I'm doing Sudoku up there. I think. Well, this can't be a straight line, can it? Because there aren't enough cells. So it's got to take something else. If it took that cell, that's impossible because the 27. Oh no, I'm wrong. Oh, well, no, I'm not wrong, actually. Okay, can that cell be grey, is my first question. Now, this 27 now has to be rotationally symmetrical, and that's the only reason that this doesn't work, because it could pick up all 3 of those squares in theory, and that square could be a 3, I think, by Sudoku, but that shape is not rotationally symmetrical. So that doesn't work, and if it's just 3 cells it won't add up to 27, so that square is not grey. So I think this square, by that logic, is red. And now, what is this doing? So now this has to... I'm terrified I'm missing an option here, but I can't see a way of building this region without taking that square, which is doing something bad to my 16, isn't it? Oh no, the 16's fine. Right, so the 16 now is, it can only be a domino, which we know is purple, and it can be a 9-7, look, by the power of Sudoku. So all of those get filled in. We get a 5 in our 35 region, not surprising. But I have to... That cell can't be a 1-cell region, so because it's joined to a 1-cell region. And that, oh, this is interesting. Right, okay. This cell is not a 1-cell region. It's not a 2-cell region, because it would then join with this, and it would hit that. And a 3-cell region we know is not rotationally symmetrical unless it's a straight line. So this cell has to join either the red cells or the grey cells. Now, if it joins the red cells, it's surely got too big. You could make that shape, actually. But that would be 24. These 3 cells would have to add up to 3. That's not going to work. So that's grey. Aha. Right. Now, well, hang on. I now think I might have broken the puzzle a different way. Oh, Simon. How can I possibly make... Oh, hang on. If I make that... If I make it like that shape, maybe? Yeah, okay, that feels right. That feels right. If it takes neither of these cells, the only way it can be rotationally symmetrical is that. And that doesn't work, because that's 8 cells. And we know 8 cells adding to 35 would imply that the 9th Sudoku digit is a 10. That won't work. So we can't do that. It must take one of these. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have to make a rotationally symmetrical shape, which means whichever one of these it takes, it's going to have to extend itself further, which it can't do there. I mean, there's nothing rotational we can make that looks in any way sensible from that position. Or it takes this one, where it is rotationally symmetrical, but we can't make it grow at all. So this must be right. That cell, we don't know. I don't think we know what that is. That might be possible to be a single cell region. It probably joins the 27 though, but I'm not sure we know it does that. Okay, but what maths have we got going on here? We've got 21 in those squares, so these squares add up to 14, which is almost restricted. I can't put a 1 in those cells, because if I put a 1 in them I need 13 more, and 5, 8, 6, 7 and 4, 9 are all unavailable. So this probably has a 2 in it. If it doesn't have a 2 in it, it's got a... If it doesn't have a 2 in it... That's rather pretty, actually. Parity helps us then. If it doesn't have a 2 in it, that sequence, then it's clearly got to have a 3 in it, because it's only allowed to add up to 14. And if we make it 4, 5 and 6, that would add... Well, it can't be 4, 5, 6 anyway, but 4, 5 and 6 add up to 15. So it would have to have a 3 in it. But once it's got a 3 in it, we've used up 4 odd numbers in the region. And we need this to have the other odd number to get back to even parity. So that it would have to contain 3, 1 and a 10. And that won't work. So this has got a 2 in it. It's got a 2 in it, and it's got 2 digits that add up to 12, which are not 3, 9 or 5, 7. So this is 2, 4, 8 by force of parity. And that is about as useful as a teapot made of chocolate. But 3 is now, look, in one of those cells. Ooh, yeah, 3 is getting a little bit interesting in box 2. Perhaps. Right, hang on. So what have we done now? We've got a 20 and a 27 up here. We've got this naughty little 8, which I don't know whether this belongs to the 27 or not. No, So what's 27? 27 is at least 4 cells, but it needs to be rotationally symmetrical. So if it took... Oh, my phone's going mad. I don't know. The 20 is at least 3. Can't be 3. It would be the same as this. Okay, so the 20... right. So the 20 takes that cell, I think. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the logic for this 20. This 20 region, don't know how big it is, but the only thing about it I do know is it's not a 3-cell region, because it's touching a 3-cell region. So it's at least 4 cells large. Now, if it just combined itself to those 4 cells, it would be a T-tetromino and not symmetrical. So it must take this square, which is the only cell that... Well, once it doesn't take those 4, and it has to be of size 4, it must take this square. So now... Well, now I can't believe it's... I think it's just got to be that, hasn't it? I can't see how on earth you can make it if it's not that. But let me think about this for a moment or two longer. What's going on with this one now? This one is at least 4 cells, and it can't be those 4 cells, so it's definitely taking that one. And it can't take this one. So this is is this a straight line? I feel like it must be. Otherwise it's going to get too large, isn't it? If we start making it like that, that's 7 cells large, which the triangular number for 7 is 28. So that doesn't work. So so what I'm trying to convince myself of is, how could this not be a straight line? The only way it's not a straight line of some form is if it takes this cell. And if it takes this cell, and then we try and make it rotationally symmetrical somehow, given it can't take that square, which is very important, I think, the minimum size it could be would be 7, and that would make it too large. So this square... well, actually, we don't know that this is part of the 20, because it could be a 1-cell region. Although, if that's true, you can't make the 20... yeah, okay, maybe it's simpler to focus on the 20. How do you make this 20 rotationally symmetrical, given this square as well? So we can't do things like that. We can't make it 6 cells anyway, because the triangular number for 6 is 21. So it's a maximum of 5, and it's at least 4. Now, I cannot see a 5-cell region I can build here that has symmetry. I might be wrong, but I just don't think there is one. So the only way we can make a rotationally symmetrical shape is that shape. And that's a 4-cell shape, which we must have a colour for, don't we? What's our 4-cell shape colour? No, we don't, apparently. Have I not had any 4-cell size regions yet? How weird. Okay, let's pick a colour then. We'll make orange. Not loving orange. Maybe light green. Don't really love that either, but okay, let's go with light green. So that's a region. Okay. So this needs its own colour, doesn't it? Oh, I'm running out of colours again, because this unfortunately touches red, which is my unknown size colour, and grey, that's my other unknown size colour. I'll make that blue for a moment. 27 is at least 4, isn't it? So it could just be those 4 bobbins. Does that work mathematically is my next question. If that's 19, 24... Right, that doesn't work by maths. Good grief. Okay, so let's do a little bit of thinking about this box. If this is red... Oh, hang on. But then that could be red as well, and that would alter my maths. Oh, dear. No, okay, I think I was about to conclude something erroneously there, which I really oughtn't to do. Right, okay, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to ask, what is the nature of this 27 clue? And its nature is it's a straight line. Because whether it has this 8 or not, it can only be a straight line. It can't turn anywhere because it's been hemmed in here. So it's a straight line somewhere in this row. But it doesn't include the 9 and it doesn't include the 5. So 9 and 5 is 14, plus 27 is 41. So there are only cells worth 4 in this row that could possibly exist absent this 27 clue and absent the 9 and the 5. So that is red, and this is red. Because if these 3 cells were all not red, let's make them as low as we can, 1, 2 and 3, they would add up to 6, plus 27 is 33, plus 14 is too many, it's 47, which is more than 45, which is the rows total. So what we don't know, I don't think at least, is whether this comes out one more square to here and makes this square a 4, wasn't it? So 14, yes, this would be a 4, or whether this is a 1, 3 pairs. This square is either 1, 3 or 4, depending on what we can prove about this domino. Okay, so how do we do that then? How do we do that? Is there some clever trickery we can use to either tell us the size of this 27 region? 3, 1, 3, or somehow tell us something else about the world. I don't know, actually. I'm now questioning myself. Oh, I know how I could do this. That grey region. This grey region's finished, isn't it? I was just checking that because I was thinking grey is my colour of unknown size, but that is a finished region because I managed to lock it down to being that shape. So this should have had its own colour, but if that region grows again, it will be the same size as that region. Good grief! That's very, very clever setting. So that means this is not able to extend. So that's the end. Our 27 clue has reached its conclusion. So those 2 squares have to add up to 4. They're a 1, 3 pair. These are not 3. This is a 3 in my 20 cage now. That's not a 3 down there. These squares, do we know what they are? Well, we do approximately. They're 2, 4, 6 and 7. And that's not a 7. Okay, and this is a 5 cell. Okay, so we've now got, basically, we've allocated more colours, even though they may not have been the colours I intended. So this does add up. Let's just check that out. I must add up to 27. Yes, it does. Okay, so I can see that by maths there's a relationship between this square and this square, isn't there? Because these squares add up to 25. These add up to 19. So if this was a 2, they would add up to 17. 17 and 25 is 42, and that would be a 3, and that doesn't work. So that's not a 2. If this is a 4, I'm thinking this is going to be a 5, which may also not work. Let's just double check that. So we get 12 here, 15... 15 and 25, that's going to be a 5, that's not 4. If this is 6, 14, 13, 38, this would be a 7. But that doesn't work, because if that's 6 and there's a 7, there's already a 7 in this box down here. I'm rather worried I've got everything wrong here. If that's 7, which is the only thing I think is working, then I've got 15 here, I've got 12 here, 37, and this is 8, which does seem to work. That's a relief. Okay, so something works. This is an 8. And oh, okay, and 1 is now here. I think that was available by Sudoku, but I didn't see it. I did it in a far more complicated way. I was going to claim it was more elegant, but I don't really think it was. So this is 9, 7. Okay, so now I know what those digits are along row 1. They are 2, 4, and 5, look. And these digits are 6, 8, and 9. So this is probably going to help us with what's going on in this box. Well, okay, here is a question. How many cells does that 17 have in it? Now, it could have been an 8-9 pair, obviously, but it doesn't seem to be able to get hold of an 8 and a 9 in a domino. If it takes that 8, it's not itself 9. And if it takes that square, which could be 8 or 9, this square is not an 8 or a 9. So it's not a 2-cell domino, so it's at least 3 cells in size. Now, once it's at least 3 cells, it can't take this. We just can't make it rotationally symmetrical, so it's a straight line. And if it's a straight line, those 3 squares don't add up to 17, so it must take the 8, I think. I think it's got to be 8, 4, 5. And be those squares, and that's going to be yellow, isn't it, for a 3-cell sequence, which means we put 2 in the corner. We're running out of opportunities for our 3. Okay, so we've got a 29 here, which I'll start making grey. That's going to be a big region though, isn't it? It's at least 4 cells, but it can't be exactly 4 because there's no 5 available to it in this. Well, what I was thinking was, if it was, can it be confined to box 1 is the question I was asking myself in my head, and the answer to that is no, for a variety of reasons. But yes, okay, one reason is the following. If it was confined to this box, it would need all those squares, and that shape is patently, well, it's sort of like a lavatory, doesn't it? It's most certainly not rotationally symmetrical. So this must come out of box 1, which means it must take that square, I believe, which means it must take that square. So now, what's going on with the 16 clue? Oh, the 16 clue could be vertical, I suppose. Right. Goodness. Okay. How can I have had an hour and 8 minutes? I suppose I did a long introduction. I feel like this has just been non-stop. Okay. Right, look, there's a 7 in one of those 2 squares by Sudoku. I'd love to know. Obviously that cell is a 1, 3 or a 4, not a 3 by Sudoku, so it's either a 1 and there's a 3 somewhere living near it, or it's a 4 and that would resolve the 4, 5 at the top. That cell. Oh, this is getting tricky now. I can't see how I can. Oh, I suppose that could even be a 29, couldn't it? That's rotationally symmetrical. So I've obviously undercooked something in another part of the, well, I say obviously. I feel like I've undercooked something here. And there's some more deductions I can do in the bottom of the grid. that would help me to understand how to do this top bit. This top bit just feels too flexible at the moment. Let me think. Hang on. 1. Oh, is it SUDOKU? Probably. 1 is in one of those cells, which means this is not a 1. Three is down here. We know that already. That's 7. That's finished, isn't it? So this 12 clue. I've not thought about this at all. I feel it can't be. Okay, it can't be a 2-cell clue. Okay, all right. Maybe this is worth thinking about, because it's either, it can't be a 1-cell clue because we can't write 12 into it. It can't be a 2-cell clue because it's next to a 2-cell clue. So it's either a 3-cell clue or a 4-cell clue. Now, if it's a 4-cell clue, what are the options for that? It's either, it's got to be rotationally symmetrical, and it can't hit that square. So it's either that, I think, that's one option. That feels like it won't work, but I can't immediately disprove it. Or it can't come vertically down, it would bump into this. Or it's that. But it couldn't have 1 or 3 in it in these positions. I don't know. It's quite tricky, I think. Let's try. I think I must be able to rule that out because of this 2-4 here. If we were saying it was a 4-cell sequence in this direction to be rotationally symmetrical, these digits here couldn't be 2, 3, or 4. So the minimum they could be would be 1, 5, and 6. And then once we added that digit in, we couldn't make that a 0, and it would add up to too many. So in order for this to be a 4-cell clue, it does have to be that. Let's just, what was our 4-cell colour? It was that one. It would have to be this. And we know it would either be 1, 2, 3, 6, which it couldn't be because it can't have a 3 in it at all. So it has to be 1, 2, 4, 5, which means this is 2, 4. Wow, okay, that doesn't work. Let me show you why. If we do this, we make this 2, 4. Whoops. I don't know how it works, but this 4 clue, remember, is a 1, 3 somehow. So this 10 clue, which must take at least 2 cells in this box, even if it's the minimum size it could possibly be, but the 2 cells it's going to get from the white spaces in box 8 can't be 2, 4, 1, or 3, so there are going to be at least 5 plus 6, which is 11, and that's too many. So what do we get from this? Well, not perhaps as much as we might like, but we do learn that this square, I'll make it red for a moment, is definitely part of a 3-cell sequence. Now, if it's part of a 3-cell sequence, we know it either goes horizontally or vertically, because it can't, there's no other rotationally symmetrical shape. So which do we feel? I feel that's quite tricky because of the 2, 4 here. Yeah, well, yes, if it does that, it has to be 1, 5, 6. That's sort of what we were working out when we looked at the 4-cell sequence. So if it does that, it has to be 1, 5, 6. And that would make those a 3, 9 pair, which would be resolved. 1, 5, 6. Don't know. Might be possible. What about if it goes downwards then? If it goes downwards, that's a 1, 3 pair. Whoa, that's much harder for me to visualize actually. Oh, sorry. What's this digit? Maybe that's a better way of approaching this. This digit by Sudoku is relatively restricted. It can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 1, 6, or 9. Okay, well, it's not 9. Well, no, it's not 9. However this works, it's not 9. If it's 9, the sequences that this builds are a 1, 2, 9 sequence. Well, this can't be a 1, 2 pair because of the 2 here, and this can't be a 1, 2 pair because the 4 clue needs a 1 in it. So that is not 9. So this is 1 or 6, and we know if it goes that way, it's 1, 5, 6. So if it goes downwards, and this is a 1, that would be a 3. And these two would have to add up to 11, which they cannot do. For the reason of Sudoku, which I hadn't spotted. 7 is looking at that square, which makes that square a 9. So that's 9, 7. And now, how could I make those add up to 11? If this is a 3. If that's a 1 and this is a 3, it doesn't work. So can this work with 6? If this is 6 and it goes downwards, these have to add up to 6, which means they're 2, 4. Why can't that be a 2, 4? Oh, it's beautiful. Good grief. Right, this doesn't work. Let me show you this slowly because it's complicated. Right, if this is a vertical string of 3, let's imagine this was a 6 for a moment. These two squares have to add up to 6, and they can't be 1, 5. So they'd have to be a 2, 4 pair. So this is a 2, 4, 6 triple, and that cell's broken. So this has to be a 1. But in making this a 1, we make this a 3. And now how do you make those two squares add up to 11? Well, we can't use 2, 9, we can't use 3, 8, we can't use 4, 7, we can't use 5, 6, so nothing works. So this is a horizontal red sequence, and we know what it is. It's 1, 5, 6. And that's not a 1. And these two squares are a 3, 9 pair, and we can do the order. So 9 and 3 go into the grid. So 9 lives in one of these 3 squares. 3 lives in one of those 3 squares. And still we don't know what's going on, do we? Oh, good grief. Alright, let's look at this 33 clue now. Because that 33 clue cannot find its home in a 2x2, because it would only add up to a maximum of 30. So that square is most certainly blue, the same colour as this one. And somehow or other this is venturing outside of its immediate proximity and wandering into a wider world. But I have literally no idea. Well, I suppose it's at least a 5-cell sequence. Something like that, perhaps. Okay, if that was 5, this couldn't be 5. Is this obvious? I've got a 26 sequence. That's quite large as well, isn't it? 9 sequence, 10 sequence. 10 sequence without a 1 and a 3 in it. Oh. Not sure actually. I'm not sure. Let me just think about this. Sorry, and I realise I'm just corpsing here as I try and understand how this all fits together. I thought it would be very easy to rule out this being a 4-cell sequence. But I'm not even sure I can rule that out. I can rule it out there. It can't be that, because this 4 needs a 1 and a 3 in it, and a 4-cell sequence for the 10 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. I can rule out that. So I can rule out that, I can rule out that, but I don't think I can rule out that. The 10, oh, well, hang on. The 10 is at least 3 cells, isn't it? So, and that's because it's touching a 2-cell sequence. I don't know where the 2-cell sequence goes, but it's definitely touching it somewhere. So this is at least a 3-cell sequence, and if it's a vertical sequence, that doesn't work. And that is for a rather acute reason. If this was a vertical sequence, well, this would be a 1-3 pair vertically, so this couldn't be, this vertical sequence couldn't have a 1 in it, and the only way of making 3 different digits add up to 10 if they don't include 1 is 2, 3, 5, which requires a 3, which would be in here as well, so it doesn't work. Right, so this is at least 3 cells, and it cannot live in this box exclusively. It cannot. It must get out. So it's either a 4-cell sequence or a 3-cell sequence, exactly like that. So it definitely takes those 3 squares, which makes it yellow of its nature to start with the possibility that it might become green, depending on what this, how far this does. Now that's doing something to this 26, I suspect, which is either now going to be something tricky like this, or it's a straight sequence. Oh no, or it's that. I didn't see that one. If this is a 4-cell sequence, this has to be a 2-4 pair. It just feels like it won't work for some. I mean, I can't see why exactly. It just feels like it's putting too much stress on the world. That would be a 1-3 pair. That would be a 4. Okay, I'm not sure. Sorry. Okay. So what's the... Is there an easy way? That 9 is now getting a bit trapped in, but the 9 can't just be a 9, because it sees a 9, so it's a 2-cell sequence at least. But if it was a 2-cell sequence, and so it's a 2 or a 3-cell sequence. We know if it's a 3-cell sequence, it's just a straight line. If it's a 2-cell sequence, it's a straight line. So perhaps this is somewhere we could focus our attention. Is there some little rinky-dink we can do with that? Does this have to go outside box 8? If it lives entirely in box 8... No, it can't live entirely in box 8 because it would be a domino, and we know the 4 is a domino. We'd have two regions touching each other, so it definitely goes to those 2 squares for sure. I'll make those 2 green this time. And it's either stopping there and just being a 2-cell sequence, which couldn't be 4, 5, or it's extending one further in one direction. But oh, do we know? No, we don't know what the 10 is, do we? If we knew this was a 3-cell sequence, we know the 10 was a 4-cell sequence. And if this is a 2-cell sequence, the 4-cell sequence goes up there. It's really, there's so many little options that, again, it's very hard for me at least to see what's the clean way of ruling some of these options out. There's a 6 up here I'm now noticing. I suspect it's Sudoku. There's probably some simple Sudoku we can do that would... Maybe I give that its own colour, just to emphasise that this is different from the grey region. So, can we conclude with any amount of authority the 33 region? Oh, hang on, I see it. I've seen something important. I had not realised this, but this is massive. Right, the 33 region, which by mathematics is at least a 5-cell region, because it's got to be at least 3 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6. That's 5 cells. So, but it can't be a 5-cell region. It's touching one of those, and it can't be a 6-cell region because it's touching one of those. So this is at least, well, it is a 7-cell region. It is just forced to be, because it can't be an 8-cell region without the 9th digit being a 12. So this is a 7-cell region. Now, how on earth do we achieve that within the confines of the world we have to operate in? Let's give this its own colour. We'll make that, oh, I don't know, black just for a moment. So that would work. That's rotationally symmetrical. That's probably going to break my... oh, no, it doesn't break the 29th. The 29 does that. Okay, so maybe that is a candidate for a 7-cell region that includes this. What else is a candidate? Let's think about that. We've got to be very careful with this 26 as well. In fact, we can't take that square in this region, can we? Because if we do, how do we make this 26 large enough? It's got to be at least 4 cells, and that's not rotationally symmetrical. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So these two squares have to be part of the 26, I think. Let me just double check that. If this 26 is just here, it's not, it doesn't work. Yeah, so those two squares are part of the 26, running out of colours here. So now, how on earth do I make this work? It's got to be that. There's no possible way. No, there's nothing else that works. Nothing else is remotely rotationally symmetrical. That's one of the issues with doing spiral galaxies, is proving, if I was doing this sort of not on camera, I would just slap this in and go, well, it's got to be that. And I might end up doing a version of that here, because I just can't see another way of building a 7-cell region here. Of course, it opens myself up to the... I can see how to build 6-cell regions that are rotationally symmetrical, but not 7-cell regions. Because, I suppose one way of thinking about it is a 7-cell region has a cell as its centre of rotation. And that's got to be this cell. It can't be here, because it's going to rotate off the grid. It can't be here, because it's going to go down there. Yeah, so it is that cell that's the centre of rotation, and the only way of building it is like that. Okay, that definitely feels completely forced. Now, how do you make this big enough? It's got to be a 5-cell region. Oh, it can't be a 5. No, I was going to say it has to be at least a 5-cell region, because it's got a 1 or a 3 as one of its digits. So it can't be 5, 7, 8, 9. But it can't be a 5-cell region, so it's got to be a 6-cell region, and the only way we can build a symmetrical region there is that. So this cell is a lone cell, I think, and a lone cell is a blue cell. Now this has got 1 and 3 in it, so that is not a 3. In fact, look at that. Those 3 squares add to 6, which means the other digits have got to be 6, 8 and 9 to add up to 23 and make this work. So that is a 6 or an 8, because it can't be a 9. So how does this 16 work now? Ooh, the 16 is at least 3 cells, because this cell can be neither 9 nor 7. So it's at least taking these 3 squares. It could take this one as well. Can we do mathemagics and work out whether or not this works? If we've got 12 here, then we've got 21 here. 21 plus 16 is 37, which would make that an 8, and that would work, wouldn't it? But yes, okay, and if we put any of those digits outside, if we put a 1 here, 15 plus 21 is 36, and this would have to be higher than 8, so this must be 8, and the 16 region does stop there, which means it is a 3-cell region, which means it earns the mantle of yellowness. And that 8 is forced. Oh, whoopsie! That 8 is forced there by SUDOKU, and there by SUDOKU, I suppose. We get a 2-4 pair, which gives me a 1 over here. And now, what are those two squares? They are 3 and 6, are they? I see. Okay, so that's a 3-6 pair, and okay, that 3 sees that we can't repeat the 3 in the cage, can we? So that's 3, that's 1. These two squares have got to add up to 13 without using 8 or 6, so they've got to be a 4-9 pair. Hopefully that will work. So that gives me a 4 and a 2. These two squares are a 1-5 pair. That 9 gives me the 9 and the 6. These squares down here have got to be 5, 7, 8. Doesn't look like we've got too much going on from a SUDOKU perspective on the right, so I'm just going to pencil mark that in and hope. Right, what are these two digits then? Those two digits have got to be 2 and 7. We know that order, so that's 7, that's 2. I've got a 1, 4, 5 triple, believe it or not, in that column. So I've got no 3 in the corner as well. So this has got to be a 2-6 pair. Let's put that in. Okay. And right, so how does this 26 work? Oh, I see. This is going to fix my 10 as well. Right, this 26 has now been totally penned in by the power of this digit. So it's got to be a 4-cell region, because if we take this square, it's not rotationally symmetric, and you can't make 3 cells add up to 26. Now, if this is a 4-cell region, this 10 cannot be a 4-cell region, so it is finished at the moment as a 3-cell region, which means the 9 has to be a 2-cell region. And that's where the 9 lives. And then the 4 can't bump into it, so it can't take that square. So that is a 1 or a 3, and it's part of this 2-cell region. 2-cell regions are purple. Oh dear, hang on. I made a mistake here. So I need this to be a 4-cell region, which is my green colour, I think. So it looks something like this. I could correct that as well. Make that purple, and then that's a blue, which is a 1-cell region. Now hopefully this will do something. Let's see. That square becomes 6, 5, 1, which means this is not 6. That square's a naked single 8. Now, what else can we do with this? Is it... I'm sure that we can... I'm sure there's a variety of ways now cracking this with a lot of aplomb. All I've got to do is figure them out. There's got to be a 9 in one of those squares. Do I know which one it is? I might not, actually. But there is a 9 in there. We can see that just looking at the pencil marks. So we've got 2 digits in here that add up to 17. So we need 2 more digits that add up to 9 that are not 1, 8 or 3, 6. So it's either 2, 7 or 4, 5. That couldn't be a 2 or a 7. Is there anything? No, I can't quite see how to do that. 2, 7 or 4, 5. Okay, so where does 6 go in this row? I think we're concluding there's no 6 in here. So that seems to be the only place 6 can go. So 6 and 7 can go in. Which is probably not enough, is it? 9 in this in box 7 can't go in the 10 cage. Okay, all right, let's do that again. 9 in box 8 can't go in the 10 cage either. So now I've got an X-wing of 9s, which allows me to ask where 9 goes in row 8. And the answer is in none of those squares. So that's 9, that's 8 in the corner, that's 8 over here now. So we get a 5, 7 pair. And we can't put 9 in a 9 cage, because that would have to be a 0. So that fixes the 9, that's really cool. So that's 9, that's 9. I've now got, now what have I got? I don't know. Yes, I do actually. This 9 cage, it's not 4, 5, 1, 8, and it's not 2, 7 because of this. So that is 3, 6, and we know the order, look. So that's 3, that's 6, that fixes the 6 and the 2, and the 3 and the 1. Which fixes the 5 and the 7 and the 5 here. Okay, this must be it now. We must be there, aren't we? This square is a 1 or a 4. If this didn't have 1 in it, it would need to be 2, 3, 5. So it does have 1 in it. So this has got to be 2 and 1. And this has got to be 1. Please work. 1, 4, 5. Okay, so the 1 goes here. This is 4, 5, and this looks like it actually does sort of work, doesn't it? 4, 5, 5, 1. Okay, this has got to be 2, 7, actually. So that's 7, that's 2. That's 2, that's 4, that's 4. These squares are 2 and 6, and this might be, well, I suppose I better do that as well. Hang on. Let's just finish it off properly. Okay, so we've filled, I've coloured in everything. Apart from, oh, well, I need to make it clear that this 7-cell region, which is the dark green colour, is different from that. And now I've got to fill in this. That's not rotationally symmetric, so we do have to divide it up. I mean, I can see one way of doing it just by force, just by putting that tetromino in. That would, I think, work, because that doesn't seem to touch any size 4 regions. But I'm not sure it's unique. Let me just think about this for a second. If we're going to divide this not into a 4 region and a 1 region, it's going to have to be divided into a 2 and a 3 region, isn't it? And we know a 3 region has to be a straight line, so that's going to have to be there, and it's going to touch that. Good grief, it doesn't work. That's beautiful. It's forced. So the only way of dividing up these 5 cells of a p pentomino so that it's got rotational symmetry and doesn't break the world is like that, which puts a blue in the corner. And that, I think, might be correct. What a puzzle. Yes. The solution is correct. So it was actually, it's tested it, I think. That's brilliant. What a brilliant puzzle. That's not easy, though. That's really, really interesting. There are many. I mean, I really like the start, actually. I really like the fact that I could work out that that domino added up to 14. And then it was clever the way that this box sort of, you could suddenly see how that box worked. I'm trying to remember how I got this. This was all very interesting as well, wasn't it? Figuring out that how this had to grow was super interesting, and then working out, that was lovely, that this cell hit a 5 and a 6 cell region, so it had to be a 7 cell region, and then it only had one option, was beautiful, and that penned in my 29. And then it all comes down to this little bit here at the very end, where you actually have to be a little bit careful to make sure that you get your colouring right. I don't know if the machine has tested that, but I think that that felt like it was correct. Now, what I haven't done is to sort of audit the grid to make sure I've got no regions of the same size touching one another, but I did try and do that as I was going along. It's brilliant. What a brilliant puzzle. Happy birthday, Analytical Ninja. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a go. Let me know in the comments. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.